Going on, everybody? Daryl Andrews here again, Coach D, with another LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live and a bunch of lives. So, but I'm reading this book, and I won't mention the name of the book, but I want to talk a moment about something that was I read in the book that when I read things like this, it just helps to transform the way I see things and the way I do things. It also becomes a point of education for people I interact with. I actually started adding this content to my training sessions, and so um, this is a really good focus here. This is a really good topic, and for those of you who are out there that are pursuing dreams and pursuing goals and trying to build your business or leading businesses or educators, superintendents of schools, workforce development professionals across the board, this information is going to be helpful. You see? Hey Lily, how you doing? How's it going? All right, it's good to connect with you here on this StreamYard. So thank you, and think you're gonna like this topic. But I want to talk a moment about a term I recently heard for the first time, and it's a term that is I think is amazing, and that is the plateau of latent potential. The plateau of latent potential. Now, what really got me excited about this uh, term is I find that today, and this is not an indictment on the times we live in, but it's just a reality because of how we're being shaped in this generation. People have a tendency to want things quickly. Other words, quick results, quick success, quick achievement. And so we base a lot of our ability to achieve things on getting it fast. But when you study things from a historical perspective, what you're going to find is most people who've accomplished anything of significance, it doesn't have to be superstar type stuff. It could just be general stuff. Typically, there's a process that people go through, all right, that over time it starts to open up new avenues of opportunity because they were willing to stay the course with it. So when you think about the plateau of latent potential, what it really is the lag time between what you think should happen and what actually happens. Think about that. The lag time between what you think should happen and what actually happens. Let me give you an example of what this means. So, say a person is trying to lose weight. They're going to go on a diet, and I want to lose all this weight, and I'm excited about it. Now, let me tell you what happens. This is the plateau of latent potential at its best. All right. Day one, you're on the diet. So you're not seeing any changes. You're changing your diet. You're rethinking things. Then what happens? You go to day two. Not a whole lot happening there. Then you go to the first week. You may have lost a pound, few pounds. The second week, a few more pounds. But guess what? Nobody's saying, hey, you know, um, hey, look at you. I can see what you're doing. You don't hear that. But then you go to day 30 and to day 60. Then all of a sudden, people are saying, wow, look at you. Man, you look good. Boy, what have you been doing? Things like that. So, what people see when you get to that certain point where now the weight is coming off and you're feeling good, what they see, all right, is a byproduct of a process that you've gone through, a system to consistently stay the course till you achieve that outcome. And then, when they see it, what they didn't see was the law of latent potential. They didn't see day one, day two, day three. And so what I'm saying is this. A lot of people that do things and find themselves not really accomplishing the outcome that they want, what they typically focus on is the outcome, not the process. I want to flip it on you today. If you're out there listening, I should be charging you for this because it's good information. I want to flip it. Your focus needs to be on those day-to-day things, the process things, the system things that's going to produce that outcome. Don't even think about the outcome. Think about it. Don't think about the outcome. Don't think, you know, I want to lose 500 pounds. Oh, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want 100 pounds. No, focus on the system that's going to help you lose that. And guess what? Stay with the system. Because day one, you're not going to see anything. Day two, you're not either. Day three ain't happening. Day four, no way. Day five, Day six. Matter of fact, it's been commonly known that it takes 21 days to develop a habit. Why? Because there's a consistency in a system that you've been doing. Like I tell people all the time, not that I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything, but I go to the gym every single day. I go to the gym every day. All right. And now, it wasn't always like that. Sometimes I would take 2 weeks off. Sometimes I would take 3 weeks off. I remember one time I took a month off. And then I came to a realization that I'm looking too much at the big picture, what I want to accomplish by lifting these weights and doing these treadmills and all of that. And what I need to focus on is, how do I build a system that's going to cause me to get out that bed every morning and go to the gym, which I do now. Like today, I wasn't even in the gym long. I was in there for like 35, 45 minutes, but I went. Why? Because my system is in place. Because I realized that now at my age, and I'm up there, I feel the way I feel. I have the energy that I have. Why? Because, I was willing to do it day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six, day seven. And so what ultimately happens is those individual moments are building up to an outcome that folks notice. So now folks will say, hey, man, look at you, coach. You look good. And I'm not ever fishing for compliments, because that's not what I'm looking for. But for me, it's what I want. I want to feel healthy. I want to be vibrant. You know what I mean? I don't. So the law of latent potential is really focusing in on those knowing that if I do something consistently and over time, all right, over time, what's going to happen is I'm going to really see an outcome. All right. I like what it says here when it talks about it. It is often, progress doesn't happen in a linear fashion because the results of your efforts are often delayed. So the law of latent potential is, it's going to be delayed. You know it's not going to happen overnight, but you don't stop anyway. It is months or years later that you realize the value of the previous work you have done. So you see when you see, like, for instance, a sports team, they live by the law of latent potential because we get to enjoy the games, they get to enjoy the practices. They got to go practice. You don't see them in practice. We're not hollering and screaming their names while they're out there during the week running those line drills. I used to play basketball. I know, let's say basketball. Or when the coaches are getting on them because they're not doing something right. But the coaches know, if I can get you to repeat a particular habit on a consistent basis, a little bit at a time. This is an important part of this conversation. A little bit at a time. Ultimately, you're going to see big gains. You see, big gains. And so here's what I want you to think about with the law of the plateau of latent potential. Stop looking at the big picture, the goals. Look at your systems. All right. If you're out there watching this and this makes sense, give me something in the chat feature so I hear what you're saying, coach. Stop this, because this is what people do. People got these big goals, or they see somebody, I want to be like that person, or they're in a career, I want that promotion. And what they're not doing and thinking, what people aren't thinking about, is, what do I need to put in place that over time will get me there? A little bit at a time. I was reading in this book about how Pat Riley, the coach of the Lakers, and he put this system in place for his players to say, hey, I just want you to increase your productivity by 1% at a time. If you're a point guard, I want you to have lesser turnovers. If you're a center, more rebounds. I mean, just a little bit. If you're getting 10 rebounds a game, let's get it up to 11. Like when I did a lot of work with schools, I don't do a lot of work with schools right now, but when I did, I would say to the educators, they say, this kid from a C to a C plus, we got to get to an A. Celebrate the C plus. If the kid went from a C to a C plus, that's advancement. Stop looking at the only way you're going to honor people is when they get these big grades. For that, because everybody's not academically inclined like that. Some kids it's a little harder. Celebrate the little wins, and maybe those little wins will make them want to try harder. It's the little things. And so the law of latent potential is really all about there's going to be a process that you're going to go through where you're not going to see the fruit of your effort. You're not. You're just going to be doing it. It's not going to look like it makes any sense. And here's what happens. That's when people quit. I'm not gaining any weight. I'm not saving any money. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it's a bunch of reasons and excuses why. But this plateau thing here is like we want to hit it. And so at some point, guess what? Then eventually the world sees it. I see it because I was willing to commit to it. One thing they talk about when they're describing this is how ice doesn't melt to 32 degrees. It doesn't melt to 32 degrees. And so, you know, when it's 1 degree or then 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, guess what? It's working on this ice, but it's not there yet. 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees, 8 degrees, 20 degrees, 25 degrees, still nothing happening. And then over time, it hits 32 and then the ice starts to melt. Why? That's the law of latent potential. Now you see the outcome of this slow acceleration towards a particular degree. And that's what you should be doing with your life. That's what you should be doing in your work. If you're a manager, you know, don't over demand things on people. Ask them, look to help them improve a little bit at a time. And then what happens is by that 1% growth, that 1% more effort, the next thing you know, it becomes 2% and then 3%. And then over time, what you find is now all of a sudden you look up and you see amazing things happen because why? It's the little things you have done. Not the big things. When I work with my customers, sometimes I frustrate them because they want, like, you know, if it's, you know, core values, they want core values tomorrow. Or if it's team building, they want a team tomorrow. I said, no, let's start with one aspect and build that out. Like with team building, you got forming, norming, storming, and performing. So let's start with norming. I mean, let's start with this, putting this team together. Let's start with connecting the dot, forming. Let's start with forming the team. What does the team look like? What are the outcomes we want with this team? What are the pillars we're going to put in place that each teammate is going to be trained on? But no, what do people do? They throw a team together and they wonder why it doesn't work. Why do we argue all the time? Why were you stuck in the storm? There's the storming part of a team. See, you got to work through that. But people have a tendency where they want these amazing outcomes fast. So what happens? Team's not working. I'm going to get frustrated and boom, 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 boom. No, you start with forming, all right? Storming, because you got to build it through the storm because people don't always agree. All right. Then you got norming and then performing. See, but those are steps, processes. All right. So the law of the plateau of latent potential is basically saying we're going to do it one little step at a time. There's going to be times we're not going to see anything. Culture is not changing. People, we do sometimes consulting and we say sometimes it takes up a year to change the culture of your organization because it's been this way for the last 20. But you got to be patient. One thing I love about my customers now, the ones we're doing long-term work with, and we got quite a few out there, is they're patient. Because why? We've talked to them about being patient. We've trained them on being patient because you can't change anything overnight. And then you start getting little wins, little victories. And over time, then it goes because ultimately we try to do is we try to get it to go from this is what we do, listen to this statement, to this is who we are. That's a whole nother vibe right there. Customer service is not what we do, it's who we are. Student engagement is not what we do, it's who we are. Employee appreciation or values clarification is not what we do, is who we are. Diversity, is not what we do, it's who we are. We believe in the beauty of individual people working within our organization. Not everybody was born in my community. Not everybody was born with my upbringing, my education, my teachers, my parents, my uncle. Everybody has different experiences. So guess what? That's beautiful because we all have different experiences and we come together in one workplace. And now imagine We're going to take one perspective from anyone. It could be any different culture, and that's the only perspective. People come from different backgrounds. So now it's like, man, it goes from what we do to who we are, because now I can appreciate the fact that you're not like me. But we still work together. We still care for this company. We still care for this organization. We still care for our clients. We still care for, our community. We just don't happen to come from the same walk of life. See, these are just little things that, we got to intelligently analyze instead of getting stuck into modes and not realizing you do this one little step at a time, build it out one step at a time. So the plateau of latent potential, again, is the lag time between what you think should happen and what actually happens. So I'm going to give you something as I get ready to close. Have goals, but focus more on systems. Think about that. Systems are not popular, they're ugly, and they're uncomfortable, but goals are fun. Oh man, you gonna do that? Really? Oh man, I'm gonna build this clothing line. Oh yeah, I'm gonna build this big company. Everybody get all excited about it. Then you got to go through the process. Folks like, I don't like this part too much. I got to get employees together, get people working together. I got to overcome struggles. I got shipping issues. I got this and that. I got blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, this ain't no fun no more. Well, that's called the process. And as Earl Stafford, I told you, I've interacted with many, many years ago, former president of Unitech said, don't fall in love with the dream, fall in love with the process. And the process is really the plateau of latent potential, because ultimately you get there if you stay within the system. See, like I said, for me, going to the gym is a system now. All right. For me, being a family man is, I don't think twice about it. I don't have to I got to make time for this. No, I just do it. I mean, these are my children. These are my family. You know what I mean? I don't have to put them third and fourth place in my life. I love them dearly. People ask me about this pandemic. They say, you miss travel all the time? I said, I don't miss it at all. I don't mind traveling, and I do for some of my customers, but most of my work is virtual. Why? Because at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I can go home, be home with my little daughter now. My other kids are in college, and my oldest son moved out the home. He's doing his thing, so I can go home and be with him. Why? Because I got all these systems in place where I can just be home and be a family man. Why? Because that means something to me. It really does. And so what I'm trying to say is, don't fall in love with the dream. Fall in love with the process. And what you'll find is the law of the plateau of latent potential will kick in. Don't discourage if you don't see it day one, day two, day. You're trying to build a business, please. Just keep doing it. Stay the course. Be consistent with your networking. Be consistent with your marketing. Be consistent with your PR. Be consistent with your financial management. Put those systems in place and stay the course. Now, they don't mean be unwilling to change, but stay the course. And then over time, you may have to make some adjustments, make the adjustments. But don't get discouraged that if like in your first year, you're not a multi-million-dollar business. Okay? Unless you have a ton of venture capital backing you, that's almost impossible. But over time, then things start to connect. And then you look up like, what in the world just happened? So I'm so grateful that in reading this book, I got that myself, because I learned some new things. I've been around for a long time. That's helping me in my work and in my family and in my life. So as I'm teaching this, I'm applying some of these principles myself, because I just read this for the first time recently. And I hope that this information is helpful for you. So if you have any questions, just go to my website, coachdspeaks.com. Reach out if you want to brainstorm some of this stuff. You can hit me up on the different social medias, DM me. And this is what we do. I love it. I tell you, when we get a chance to impact a lot of lives, impact a lot of people, we do a lot of the training and the coaching and the consulting with our customers, and I mentor folks and things like that. And like going back to my hometown, and I always go back home in Syracuse just to be a support there. And it's just, I mean, it's really what life is all about. You know what I mean? You're blessed to be a blessing. So I hope that this information was helpful to you. So very much, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.